Two Crestview residents are currently in the Okaloosa County Jail after stealing cash and weapons from a home in the Fort Walton Beach area Sunday afternoon. 20-year-old Stephen Thrash and 21-year-old Amos Claiborne are both charged with armed burglary, grand theft firearm, and grand theft. Deputies from the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office were called to 449 Waterway Lane near Fort Walton Beach around 2:30 Sunday afternoon. A resident there told lawmen that 5 people he invited into the house later forced him into his father's bedroom and stole cash, 2 semi-automatic rifles, a 12-gauge shotgun, and a .22 caliber rifle before fleeing the home. Troopers with the Florida Highway Patrol spotted the suspect's getaway car entering Crestview about 30 minutes later. A traffic stop was conducted by the trooper and the Crestview Police Department on Villa Crest Drive just off P.J. Adams. The suspects surrendered without incident. Inside the vehicle's trunk, lawmen found the stolen weapons wrapped in a blanket. Similar charges are pending against 3 co-defendants. Dozens of residents from across North Okaloosa County had to be rescued from their homes Saturday due to rising floodwaters along the Shoal, Yellow, and Blackwater rivers, in addition to some smaller creeks and streams. One of the areas most affected was along Lake Ella Road, just west of Highway 393 in Dorcas. Emergency 911 calls began to flood the county dispatch center around 9:30 a.m. Saturday morning. First responders from the Dorcas, North Okaloosa, Laurel Hill, and Almirant fire departments, along with Okaloosa County Sheriff deputies, Florida Fish and Wildlife officers, and the Okaloosa County Emergency Swift Water Rescue Team, battled driving rains and poor road conditions to try and reach Lake Ella Road residents before they were cut off by the water. The Dorcas Fire Station on Poverty Creek Road was turned into a command center and staging area for the dozens of boats and rescue personnel that were needed to conduct the rescue operations. Some were rescued in the first few hours, but many were left stranded, with first responders searching for ways to get to them once the roads were submerged underwater.
I think that's a good idea. Get in that phone.
So after all the roads are cut off from even getting somewhere.
And we're confirmed we have a victim on a vehicle here.
Trying to get him out. They're trying to get him out, but they can't get nobody out there with a boat.
As the day wore on, water rescue teams continued to work their way up Pond Creek, searching for those stranded, ever so often returning to the landing site on Highway 393 to deliver those found to safety.
Nothing much. We were just at the house, and our our 2 rivers that were beside us and the swamp that was in front of us had flooded up, and it overflowed. Within like 25-30 minutes, we had our front yard and our backyard was filled up, and it was up to the porch.
How'd you all contact the rescue people?
I got service on my phone and called 911, and they had y'all come out.
Yes, to it.
Yes, sir. I was glad that y'all come out.
By 2 p.m., more than 24 of those rescued were brought to the command center on Poverty Creek Road.
Well, we've been living in our trailer for almost 3 years, and it's 6 feet off the ground. It's actually like 13 feet down to the creek. So we thought that we were pretty safe. We were watching the water, and it kept, all of a sudden it just really got high. We were looking out the front door, and we saw the neighborhood kids walking down the creek, down the road, which was a creek at the time. And my son decided to get in the kayak and go check it out, and that's when we saw the firemen coming down the road, and they came up and told us that we needed to evacuate. So we grabbed a few belongings and my dog, and we got in the kayaks, and we were trying to go down the road. Luckily we had 5 kayaks, and they were rescuing our neighbors with the kayaks, the firefighters. And one of the moms was trying to walk by the kayak, and she was trying to walk, and the water was getting so it was pushing her, and so we ended up having to try to pull her into the boat. We hit a couple trees. It was very scary. We were really scared. Luckily, the sheriff put us in a vehicle and took us to the Dorcas Fire Department, and that's where we're at now. They did a really good job, and also our neighbors, the people that lived in the community, did a lot to help too. They used four-wheelers and whatever they could to try to help. Everybody was trying to help each other.
In your group that was brought here to the Dorcas Fire, how many years were rescued at one time?
There was about 6 of us. They got the small children first. Our neighbor is a policeman, and he had just had some kind of surgery, so he was of a lot of concern, so they had to take a boat down there to get him. But they took all the children first, and then they were supposed to go back and get him. So they took us back up before that happened. Yeah, I believe so. They still had a few more to get, which was the policeman and his wife, I think, to get still when they brought us up. My husband was going to turn around and go back and get our dogs, and he started going, and about halfway he decided no way, that it was too bad, he couldn't do it, so he came back. I was actually yelling for him to come back, and he didn't, he ended up deciding on his own that it was too bad. Our vehicles are pretty underwater. We had moved both of our trucks to the end of the driveway because that was the highest part. And when we looked back down, it was up to the windows.
How long did it take for the water to raise up?
It did not take long at all.
Minutes, hours, from the time that you woke up this morning?
It just seemed like it jumped from being like we could look out our gate and see where the creek is behind there, and it had reached the plateau of the land where we live on, and where our trailer is 6 feet up, and it kept creeping up the steps. So it did that really fast. So.
Did you get your trailer underwater now, or?
I hope not, because it's 6 feet up in the air. So I hope not, because right now it's sunny outside. So I'm hoping that it won't be. But I know the creek goes according to what's going on up north in Alabama, so I don't know. I'm just hoping not, because we didn't get our stuff out, that's for sure. All we did is basically take ourselves, and I took my little dog.
The American Red Cross established an overnight shelter at the Milligan Assembly of God Church on Highway 189 to house the flood victims from across the county.
This morning when we were listening to the scanner on the flood, because my husband's with the Red Cross, and we had looked at other options of having a shelter when we learned they needed one, and immediately came to my mind our church. We're new members here, and we have a great facility, and I thought what better way to be a light to the community but to open our church. So we made a call to the pastor, and he readily agreed, Pastor Mike White, and we just put the wheels in motion from that point on. Red Cross has handled everything, and myself and my granddaughter are just here to pitch in as helpers to help them with anything they need. And we're expecting some people to show up for the shelter just any minute, and so we're just helping them get set up in there. And we have a great facility, and what a better way to be a light to the community.
Stay tuned to Crestview Community Television for updates to this story as they become available.